Tonight, the aliens are here. Don't tell Nigel Farage. Welcome to Macclevoid at the movies. Hello, I'm Dr. Macclevoid. No, it's not my real name. Coming to you from yet another undisclosed location somewhere in Great Britain. Yes, it's a secret, and I'm not the only one who likes secrets. Steven Spielberg likes secrets. His latest movie, Disclosure Day, was very much marketed with a minimum of information, as if he didn't really want people to know much about it before they went to see it. It was a mystery wrapped in a riddle, or wrapped in an enigma. Perhaps it was a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's not. Maybe it was his most intriguing and dynamic movie in 20 years, as some critics have said. Well, turns out it isn't. So what is it? Well, it's a diverting, good-looking, but maybe slightly empty thriller, if the truth be told. I suppose if you're Steven Spielberg, you know, what must keep you up at night in your multi-million-pound house somewhere is this idea that after a couple of decades of making sort of good-looking but only sort of moderately entertaining fare, I'm thinking of The Paper, Bridge of Spies, War Horse, and by the way, a trigger warning that this review does mention some of those movies from the 2010s. The worry is that maybe you can't do it anymore. Maybe you've lost your pep. You know, I mean, if you're Steven Spielberg, you started off so strongly, it's very hard to maintain that momentum over several decades. God knows many of us would like to have started. If you're him, I suppose you can say, well, you've had your classic period, you've had your dark, edgier middle period, and now you've got your sort of, well, you're into your flabby dotage, aren't you? You know, period of underpowered but diverting flicks where you've still got an incredible eye for composition, but I mean, you know, your talent is very much in evidence, but you and your long-time collaborators, well, they're going through the gears. You know, everyone's a bit subdued, meandering. The movies have lost their elasticity and power. Audiences have lost interest. So what do you do? Well, if you're Spielberg, I suppose what you want is to try and dazzle people again, you know, on the territory you made your own, the science fiction film that's informed by a childlike sense of wonder. And Disclosure Day is all the ingredients of a great thriller. It's got dueling organisations trying to get hold of two whistleblowers. It's got car chases. It's got a mystery. It muses on the human condition as it goes. It's shot with a lively camera. The cast is game. Emily Blunt in particular is very, very good. So why is it flat? Well, I mean, it's all cut together in a rather perfunctory way, I'm sorry to say. It's a chase movie that lacks urgency, or indeed a palpable sense of threat. And this is despite the fact that it's taking place against a backdrop of the Third World War. That's right. We're on the brink in Disclosure Day. But aside from a couple of mentions on the news and a bit of panic buying in a shop somewhere in the middle of nowhere, there's no real sense of this happening. Everybody's sort of going about their business. The movie is not set in populous areas for most of its running time, so we don't really get a sense of the societal impact of all of this. There is some threat. I mean, Colin Firth's bad guy can use an alien device to manipulate people, find out where they are, make them do awful things. Those are little moments, little snapshots of feeling. And that's what the whole movie's like, really. It's good in parts, good in moments. There are times when you think, gosh, Spielberg's camera really knows how to move. He knows how to put a scene together. And he always gets good performances from his actors, but they're all doing it here in a kind of a, I don't know, a listless way, I suppose. There's a bit of humour in the film, but it's all very breezy, and I suppose that's the whole movie, really. It just kind of lacks edge. Even John Williams sounds sleepy, like he's conducting a half-remembered score, which at the age of 94 he probably is. Look, you want to like it, and in moments you do, but the treatment is, well, I'm sorry, but there is only one word for it. No, not that word. Corny. This is a movie that lacks a proper edge. And it doesn't help that by the time you know what's going on, you're not really sufficiently invested enough to care. The main aim of the villains in the movie is non-disclosure. But given the backdrop, given what's going on in the story, off screen, the build up to World War III because, I don't know, North Korea's panicked or something, you would think that disclosure was the sensible move. I mean, if ever you needed a unifying moment for the human race, if ever you needed a time when they might have the ability to empathise with each other on an intuitive level, with the help of a little alien technology, this surely was it, right? So why, if you're Colin Firth, would you want to stop this happening? Why would you want to keep the wolf from the door when the clock's ticking down to Armageddon? You can understand how the change in the political scene might influence the whistleblowers, why they might decide to break off, why now would be the time, perhaps, for them to say to the world, yes, this is what's been happening all this time. Aliens have been on Earth since Roswell, etc., etc., etc. Although I've been to Area 51 and I have to say I didn't see any. There's no sense in Disclosure Day that Colin Firth even stops to think, well, am I on the right side of the argument? Am I wasting my time chasing down these people? What do I hope to achieve by putting everything back in the box? We could all be living in an underground bunker by next week. Sure, Colin Firth has kept the secret for so long, maybe he can't let go of it. He essentially says as much, but I don't know. Given what's happening in the story, you do kind of scratch your head. There's also the suggestion that if the aliens were to be introduced to the world, it might knock a few people's religious faiths. But religion in this movie, let's be clear about this, is Judeo-Christian faith. The world's theisms are represented by a single nun who helps us by saying, oh, there's a passage in Genesis which makes all of this perfectly fine. You can almost hear Richard Dawkins breaking all his pencils. Is that going to be enough for audiences of other religious persuasions? Will that be enough for Christians? Spielberg used to be quite flippant about Christianity, quite flippant about religion. Now, as an old man, he's, maybe hedging his bets a little bit. He wants it both ways. He wants to say, look, there's nothing about the existence of aliens on other planets which contradicts the Bible. I'll leave you to decide whether that is a sound argument. And then we get to the end of the movie, the spoilers, revelation by TV. And I must admit, this is where Disclosure Day finally lost me. In an age of generative AI, memes, social media, all the rest of it, are we really supposed to believe that a report from a local television station, backed up only by archived clips, would be enough to convince the world that aliens have been here for the last 79 years? I mean, I think Spielberg had in mind something like 9/11 and the mesmerising effect that had on the world. Everyone glued to their television set. But that's a live event being relayed in real time to a global audience. All the sources that Emily Blunt and co. show to the world are secondary sources. And sure, there is an alien wheeled into the newsroom at the very end as a sort of a topper. But I'm not even sure that that was transmitted. I mean, maybe it was. Perhaps I missed it. I don't know. But I don't think the cameras were on them. And then there is a line where somebody says, "Oh, no, this footage is all watermarked by the US government and we've done a ground pixel analysis or something. It's all authentic." What do you think? Fine. Is that really gonna, stop everyone in the world from questioning what they've seen? What will conspiracy theorists do when all their conspiracies are confirmed? Well, surely then the contrarian thing to do, as they tend to do, is to believe that it isn't real and that there's no such thing as aliens. I'd have liked a movie that started where Disclosure Day ends, I think, and had the world questioning whether the presence of aliens, which everybody holds to be true, is true. That would be a nice little inversion, wouldn't it? That would have been a nice play on conspiracy theories generally. But no, Steven Spielberg thinks that the world is highly credulous and that on TV Say So, we'd all stop what we were doing, whether we were in a nunnery or in the sky, and we'd take our mind off the Third World War and we'd say, "Oh, I knew it." I think maybe the ending is a sort of proxy for how Spielberg imagines his output to have been received, in awe by the world, mouth agape. But there is an irony here, I'm afraid. Yes, I will share it with you. The irony is that in his dotage, Steven Spielberg, like Martin Scorsese, has entered into a period of sort of flabby, languid filmmaking, where we're supposed to luxuriate in the moments, but the whole feels rather distended, rather dull. And the irony is that such movies are perhaps better viewed on television. And when you consider that Spielberg and Scorsese are the great advocates of cinema, the cinematic art form, and have probably done more than most people to make you and I fall in love with the movies, it is perhaps ironic that Disclosure Day will probably play better when you're in bed with a hot chocolate and the pause button than it would in the cinema. Consequently, having a climax that effectively sells television's power to wow us is arguably ill-conceived. Until next time, I'm Dr. Macclevoid. Don't have nightmares. Good night.